Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And while we did not get direct news from CG, we got a trailer and we got kind of a little update in the app that a new game mode, the Coliseum, is being added to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I'm going to play the trailer that shows some characters or some things that are not yet in the game, which could be super interesting. We'll kind of break that down. But more importantly, I want to talk about what I think this game could be, what I hope it is, and what I hope it isn't. So we're going to get into this, guys. Please give a second to thank the channel members for their continued support. If you guys are ever interested, link below. More importantly, check out the Discord. Go ahead, join there. We've had a lot of cool stuff going on. We share the biggest thing I love is sharing our mods in the Discord. That is the best part, and everybody making fun of me for when I get 24 speed mods, because that's what we do. So thank you guys again. Let's get in here and let's talk about this new game mode, the Coliseum. All right, so we're gonna, of course, switch over to, the game here. So I'm gonna pull up my Discord screen here, and this is the trailer that we got, and I'm gonna kind of pause it at a few moments and kind of talk about stuff. So, and it says includes a mixture of cinematics and gameplay footage, and it'll be obvious to know what is which. All right, so we got the, this is obviously cinematics. This is not in the game because that looks way too friggin' good. So they got a little, I don't even know what the hell that little creature is. All right, so there we're kind of getting a view of what the Coliseum looks like. So right there, again, it looks like the Geonosis Coliseum a little bit. Not really, it's obviously something else, but it, potentially could be. I'm not sure what it, where that takes place. So we've got a bunch of different characters here. There we go. All right. We have Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper armor. That character is not in the game yet. We have Stormtrooper Han, but not Stormtrooper Luke. So is this a teaser for us getting a new Luke? Or is this just kind of a, hey, we're throwing it in there, this isn't actually in the game? Because there's a lot of characters that exist like that. Right? So they're battling in AT-ST. We've got Force abilities that, again, don't exist in the game. Also, none of that ever happens. So then we have actual gameplay footage from varying places, right? That's, from raids, right? Got Rey. So right there, look at that. There's Yoda on top of Clone Wars Chewbacca. We have never seen that. That's actually pretty cool. That'd be a really funny character. Again, that is something we saw. We saw Clone Wars Chewie with Yoda on his shoulder, leaving Kashyyyk in Revenge of the Sith. All right, got our Beskar Mando gameplay footage, right? And look, I mean, those abilities are not, that's like, I'm wondering if this is a Clone Wars Chewbacca rework, because that is not in the game yet, right? Like, that is not there. Like, those are abilities that are not yet listed in the game, right? I mean, hey, you guys tell me, but is this kind of leaking Stormtrooper Luke, Yoda, and Chewbacca? Right? I mean, that would be sick. That would be really, really cool. All right, there's some whistling birds. We defeat it. Yay, we win. We're the best ever. And then we got this right here. We have Vader with a split mask. We've got Stormtrooper Luke, right? Again, doesn't mean we're necessarily getting those characters, but, because we've had stuff on the title page, we've had stuff, but it would, again, it is like, we're at that point where we've been scraping the bottom of the barrel. We're adding Acolyte characters. We've added fake characters. Captain Atano, Quiggled, Kix, like, need I say more? Getting, face split open Vader and Stormtrooper Luke, I think all of us would be very happy about. So it's a pretty sweet trailer, right? Again, the cinematics there are awesome, and again, now they're just kind of going into the full ad for the 10-year anniversary that is coming later this year. Now, where you will see us, saying, hey, I'm going to flip back over to the game real quick while I get my Discord set up to show you the next part of this, right? So if we go to my guild channel, because I did want to go here to this little message. All right. So now we're going to flip back over here. So then here's kind of the message, right, that got posted on the Star Wars, like StarWars.com or whatever. Join Galaxy of Heroes to celebrate 10 years. Collect iconic heroes and ships, build your dream squads, and relive unforgettable moments. Take on the newest game mode, the Coliseum, where your skills are put to the ultimate test. Are you ready to dominate the holotables. The Coliseum and other anniversary events start November 18th, 2025. So I think November 18th, 2025, we could see some big stuff. Is that the start of Relic Delta? Is that the start of the Relic economy? I wouldn't be completely shocked, but I kind of doubt it because I feel like we would have gotten that information already. I feel like that's information that they would release earlier. I could be wrong, but I think they could release earlier. Now, what will the Coliseum entail? What does it look like? You know, is there anything we can take from what we saw there? What I would maybe say is I do not want this at all to be like what Conquest is, right? So maybe let me backtrack a sec. I do not want this to be a player versus player type of game mode. I want this to be PvE content. I think CG has a big problem with player versus player stuff between datacrons, matchmaking, all the stuff that goes into it. I just feel like player versus player is an extremely slippery slope for them to add into the game at a time where Relic Delta, datacrons, roster differences, all of that stuff is at like just a really, really bad place. And I feel they're beginning to lose control over some of that stuff. They really need to rein in other parts before I'd tell you that a PvP game mode would be a good idea. So what I hope this Coliseum is kind of, a PvE style game mode, but more like what we used to have in some of the raids. So if you go to these boss nodes in Conquest, and the first one was win with Tebow, TFP, Qui-Gon Jinn, Royal Guard, and Jyn Erso. What players don't realize, right, is why that's a thing, is because that team would solo the raid back in the day. That team legitimately would solo the heroic pit raid when it first launched. That was what we did. And it was, when you read it, you're like, that makes no sense, but it's all because of turn meter removal, tenacity down, speed down, all of that stuff worked together. And the reason why Commander Luke Skywalker was the other one is because when he came into game, he legitimately had a chance of soloing the raid by himself. So it was one of those things where there was a lot of, maybe theory crafting that used to exist that then kind of got replaced by just, overpowered characters in all these various game modes, right? But even getting into, Sector 2, again, you had, the OG Kylo, which that was fine, but the Darth Vader, Wampa, Thrawn, BB-8, Commander Luke Skywalker, that we called that Wampander. That was a legitimate team to solo the tank raid. I kind of hope the Coliseum is stuff like that, where it's combining various aspects of characters' kits in order to take full advantage, where nowadays bosses and raids and things get buffed to hell. You can't use certain characters. Certain things are disabled. It's ridiculousness left and right. If it's stuff like this, I'd love if it got added. Because these are the kind of things that I felt made the game fun, was that kind of theory crafting, that level of, yep, these are the teams we use and why. So I think if we get a game mode like that, we're even getting into the Princess Zodi one here, right? Commander Cody, Fives, Echo, Sarge, Princess Leia, like, that was a legitimate team. This was a legitimate team that did well in those aspects of the raid because of their kits. So what I'm hoping is that the Coliseum kind of borrows stuff like that, where not necessarily those specific teams, but the concept of them. The concept that X character does this character does this, and they combine together to create a really good effect that otherwise maybe would not be there in the game. I think if stuff like that, it would be a lot of fun to play in the Coliseum, where there's a little bit more theory crafting that goes on, rather than just, I think what's been pulled away from this game is the theory crafting aspect and been replaced by synergy. Been replaced by, you need this character and this character to go with this character in this situation with these things, and it works. Maybe getting into, hey, whenever a character is staggered, they take additional damage. I'm going to create a whole team of characters that can apply stagger, and then we're going to constantly deal more damage. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think could be fun in the Coliseum, where it would be a little bit more interesting. Now, the big question, I think, is what would the rewards be? I don't know. I'd love if it would be something to replace Fleet Arena crystals, because I think Fleet Arena is kind of running its course, and I don't think it's serving the purpose that it used to serve. Where everybody's got Leviathan. Like, I think the best thing they could do, take all of these rewards, move them to the Coliseum, and just delete Fleet Arena. And honestly, to an extent, I think that could be, and the problem would be you'd never get to practice Fleet, so I don't think they'll do that. But if you guys kind of follow that logic, I do think Fleet Arena has kind of run its course in terms of crystals. It would be nice if they got moved to something where, again, if you go back to when they removed them, they said we want to move them into a game mode where you have a little bit more control. We know these shard mafias exist. They're just the same in fleets. And especially in the game now, where everybody's Leviathan can be everybody's, mafias are even worse. Because now it's no longer a skill issue on climbing. So it's purely, if you think of it like this, if you're in that top part, like where I am, hey, I'm going to get first place, this person's going to get first, like, we could legitimately keep anybody from ever getting first place because there's no skill involved in us beating their fleets. So I've always kind of come back to when I said I think now is the time to maybe move that stuff. But I could also see them rewarding, Relic 10 materials, new signal data in there. I think, kind of sky is the limit with the rewards. But it was interesting to see some of those new characters, or characters that are not yet in the game, be added. So we'll have to kind of keep our eyes peeled, our eyes open, if stuff happens to change with Clone Wars Chewbacca and other characters to, bring some of them to the forefront. So guys, that's kind of my, what I hope it is, what I hope it isn't, what I think it might be. I'd love to know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, comment. Love you all. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.